Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to give you a bloom update for the month of January. And as you can see, I have a lot of Phalaenopsis orchids blooming right now. A lot of my minis are blooming, a lot of long-time Phalaenopsis that I have are blooming, but I'm most excited to show you quite a few of my species that are all blooming at the same time. I also have a few first-time bloomers, such as this Cattleya right here, so I'm going to show you that. And I am also going to show you some of my Hoyas that are in bloom. I have some Hoyas. I have 2 shelves of Hoyas, and they're starting to get big and they're starting to bloom. I'm thinking of chopping them up and making the pots more full, but I really like the blooms that I'm getting, and I'm finding them really fragrant as well. So towards the end of this video, I'm going to show you a couple of those Hoyas that are blooming right now. But let's jump into the Phals. So the first orchid that we have in bloom is the Phalaenopsis Amboinensis Nicole. This is the first species that I have blooming. I have 2 of these, so I'm going to show you the other one, which is also blooming right now. And I got this orchid at the Tamiami Orchid Festival 2 years ago, and it's blooming for the first time right now. This was actually a gift from my mom because she saw that the name of this orchid is Nicole. And I was excited to see that this opened up with a yellow background because the Amboinensis that I have, that I've had for a long time, has a creamy white background. So these are a little bit different. If you guys have followed my channel for a while, you'll know that I don't love the fragrance of this orchid, but I do love how it looks. So I like the bloom. It's very, very pretty, but it's got like a plasticky burnt fragrance, which I'm not very partial to. I don't really like it that much, but it doesn't fill a room or anything like that. Here's my older Phalaenopsis orchid, my older Phalaenopsis amboinensis orchid rather. As you can tell, it's got like a white background instead of a yellow background. And this orchid I've had it in my collection about 4 years. And it's got multiple spikes. So one day it's going to give me over a dozen blooms. So with age, these orchids just get better and better. Now, with that said, these orchids do get quite large. It's in a 7-inch pot and the root system is going crazy. So I don't know what I'm going to do with space. As some of my Phals are 4 or 5 years old, they start getting bigger and bigger. But the bloom count is very impressive. It's very beautiful, and thankfully the fragrance is just not too strong. But I'm really liking these Amboinensis orchids. I'm going to keep them both. I find them very beautiful, and I love them. The next species orchid in bloom right now is the Phalaenopsis Tetraspis Imperatrix, and this is the purple version. I got this as a gift over the summer. This was originally part of my mom's collection, and she downsized and gave me a few of her Tetraspis orchids. She got this from Orchid Classics, I believe, and this is actually a fragrant orchid. So it smells, it's kind of hard to describe, but it does smell like plastic, not quite a rubbery burnt plastic, but like a plastic. This one is probably going to get a little bit bigger on me, but so far so good. I like it. I find the blooms very, very pretty, and we have a second spike coming in. The Tetraspis species are quite nice. There's so many variations of them, and I just find them super cute, especially the color. Now the next one, I was really excited about this one. This one's the Phalaenopsis Schilleriana. And I got this last year, and this is a rebloom. So this is the most blooms that I've gotten on this orchid before. This species is fragrant. It smells like roses, actually. It's not super strong, but when you put your nose to it, you can detect that really nice fragrance. This is apparent to quite a lot of other Phalaenopsis hybrids, including the next one that I'm going to show you. But I look forward to growing this more. I've seen pictures online of this orchid having multiple blooms and dozens of flowers. So I'm curious to see how big I can get this, and I'll be patient. I know it takes time for these to get large and put more blooms, but I'm very excited about this one.
The next orchid in bloom is the Phalaenopsis Jiaho's Pink Girl, and this is a hybrid of the Phalaenopsis Schilleriana. This is a much smaller version, of course. You could see the blooms are a lot tinier. This is also fragrant. You have to put your nose to it in order to smell it, but it's a very vigorous mini Phalaenopsis. I've had this orchid for about 4 years now, and every year the bloom count improves, which is lovely. It branches and it gives you double spikes quite easily. The only thing with the minis that I find different from the larger phals is that you have to keep on top of the watering more because these are in smaller pots, so therefore they dry out quickly. But once you have that, they're very easy to grow. I find it super cute. It's a nice orchid, and I don't have too many mini phals, but this is definitely a keeper in my collection. The next orchid in bloom is the Brassocatlia Morning Glory. This is a first time bloomer for me, and I received it in October, so it was nice to see it bloom so quickly, and it didn't surprise me because this is a Brassavola nodosa hybrid, and those folks who have nodosa hybrids know that they're very vigorous. So very similar to the Richard Mueller. The nodosa parent tends to be very vigorous. They do bloom quite young. They get big quite fast, and this orchid is pushing out some new growths already, and it adapted really well to my conditions. I haven't repotted it yet because I noticed the sheath on it. It's in gravel, so I have to water it quite quickly since that doesn't retain as much moisture in my environment, but I'm stoked to see it. No fragrance this time, but we'll see next time. Now, I want to show you this big Ol Phal. So someone gave me the ID of this one last year, and I misplaced it. So if you guys know the ID, let me know down below. But I received this orchid as a gift maybe about 3 years ago for my birthday, and I rebloomed it every single year ever since. This is a really, really nice big phal, and a lot of folks that grow orchids, when they start growing cattleyas and dendrobiums and other types, they tend to abandon their Phalaenopsis orchids, and I can understand why. Like, they see them as more basic, maybe they don't have fragrance, but an orchid like this I find really nice to grow because it's vigorous, it's quite reliable, and usually in January, February, you have a lull with blooms. So a lot of orchids bloom more like in the spring and summer, but these Phalaenopsis types, the complex hybrids, they tend to bloom in the winter. So you always have something that's in bloom when you have these bigger phals. And the blooms can last 3-4 months, especially if you can keep your humidity up and keep up with the watering. I find this orchid very beautiful. The bloom count is a treat. I really love it. I have it displayed in my living room. Thankfully, my cat hasn't eaten the blooms yet, so it's hanging on for dear life. But this is a really pretty one. Hopefully it lasts through March, April. It's gorgeous, and I'm going to be chopping this orchid up when it's done blooming. I want to chop the stem since it's getting quite tall. It's in semi-hydro. I'm going to take it out of that setup because I find that the setup just doesn't work as well long-term for my phals, so I'll keep you updated on that. The next Phalaenopsis is the Phalaenopsis Norman's World, and I got this from one of my friends, and I love it. Now, this has very beautiful blooms, and depending on if the temperatures are warm or cool, it has more or less red spots in it. This time it gave me more of those red burgundy spots, which is really cool. But man, this orchid is a beast. It's in a 7-inch pot, and it's pretty much outgrowing it already. The roots are growing through the slots of the pot, which is going to be a nightmare for me next year. It's quite big. This is one of my bigger phals. Now, the one that I just showed you is pretty big, but just given that this is a novelty phal, it's humongous and the root system is enormous. But The blooms are pretty, they're fragrant. It's like a floral plastic smell. It's really nice. Now the next orchid in bloom is one of my favorites. This was gifted to me by Michael McCarthy and I love it. It's a Richard Mueller by Cattleya Labiata. Unregistered hybrid. We'll see what it's named when it gets registered. But this is the second time that it blooms for me. I'm finding that this orchid is very vigorous. It's pushing out new growths on both sides of the plant. And I'm getting 2 blooms this time. Last time I got 3 blooms. This time I have 2. Hopefully when it blooms again off the next growth, hopefully I'll get more blooms than that. I believe Michael got 5. But this has really big, pretty blooms. I love the lip on it. You could see the Richard Mueller in it. You could see the Labiata in it. And it's a treat because it's going to be vigorous, yet it has a different color. No fragrance on it, but it's gorgeous. Now, I also want to show you some of my Hoyas. This is the Hoya Crimson Queen. I love it because it's variegated and smells like grapes. It's really, really nice. I really like my Hoyas and they've really been growing on me. Well, literally they're growing and I'm really liking their flowers and their fragrance. And I find them more vigorous and somewhat easier to grow than some of my orchids. My Hoya Retusa gave me a single bloom. I found it so cute, so I wanted to show you. I just found it so adorable, but I got to chop that one up too. And this one is the Hoya Khroniana Super Silver. This one is so fragrant. It smells like a perfume. Not a perfume that I'd wear, but nothing bad. But when I get home, I smell it all through my apartment, especially at night. I just really like them. I'm going to cut them up and put them in my living room and just let them hang. I just find them so gorgeous, especially this variegated version of the, this is the Hoya Crimson Queen. I just love it. That fragrance is so nice. And then the Hoya Khroniana Super Silver is also gorgeous. I really like it. It's got beautiful leaves, but it blooms so often and it is outgrowing its pot. So I have to repot that very soon. But anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know which blooms were your favorite this month. And I will see you in another video. Thanks for watching, everyone. Bye.